everybody. We're going to do a fermentation here now of microbes, and we'll go through it step by step. This is an important procedure to follow each one and to bring it to the conclusion. So the first thing we're going to do is heat our sugar source, which in this case is molasses, to 80 degrees, and we'll do it here in this apparatus. So as we're mixing 30 litres and we're doing EMA, that's 3%, so it's 1 litre or just under 1 litre of molasses, 1 litre of EMA, filled with water, good clean water that is, at a good temperature. So as I said, first step is the molasses. So we're going to stick our molasses into our measuring jug here, and put in 1 litre of that. As you can see here in the UK, it pours quite slowly because of the ambient temperature so low. There you go. So we're going to mix some water with that, put it into our pan. So this water is now coming in here. This is heated water. This water is about 30 degrees, 35 degrees. And so we'll mix that in there. Take a spoon, which I will get. And then we'll mix that, put it into this pan here, and heat it up to 30 degrees. It's important that we get this well stirred. Stirring is always important with all these products, just to always make sure you have a good mix. Everything's well stirred in.
Got more water in it.
So now we heat this molasses. And we leave that till it gets to 80 degrees centigrade. The purpose of getting it up to 80 degrees centigrade is to kill any other bacteria, any other microbes that you might introduce into the mix if you just put the molasses straight in. So basically what we're doing is we're sterilizing the molasses, bring it to 80 degrees, kills off any other bacteria that shouldn't be in there. Once it's up to 80 degrees, we then mix it into the container here. So at this stage now, we'll start filling this container with this preheated water, and fill up mostly all the way to the top into this container. Now the other thing is to ensure before you start that your container is really clean. You've cleaned it out to the best of the ability, including taking off the valve mechanism, the drain mechanism. That needs to come off. Make sure that the whole thing, all throughout it, is clean. Because if you don't, there'll be a build-up of material in there. At some point, pathogens will get in there, and then you will pollute your mixes, and they won't be healthy. So cleanliness is very important. Start off cleaning everything. Make sure that you don't clean with hard antibacterial chemicals, because if you do and then there's a residue left in here, when you mix your brew, when you do your brew and you put the microbes in there, then of course that antibacterial cleanser will start killing off your bacteria, microbes that you've introduced, and of course make your solution less effective. We here in the UK, we're using water that we preheated to around 30 degrees. However, you guys, you don't have to heat your water because often the ambient temperature is that warm. You've got, you know, water that's 30 degrees is fine. The main thing about the water is the water needs to be pure water, needs to be clean, needs to be well-structured water that you've really looked after, and it's good water. So the quality of your water is very, very important. And later on, of course, the temperature is important, but we'll show you with the heat pad how you get your temperature up to between 36, 38 degrees, which is the optimum temperature for the fermentation process. So here we have the molasses heating up to 80 degrees, and we have the water, fresh water filling up in the fermentation tank. Okay, now the molasses has been heating. We've checked the temperature with the thermometer here, and we kept stirring it, and now we're happy that the temperature is now up to 80 degrees. We've let it hold it there for a little while just to make sure that it's consistent 80 degrees. So taking the thermometer out, give it a last stir, turn off the heat. Now this container is filled up with warm water. It's about 35, 36 degrees. So now we're going to add the molasses, the water molasses to that. And here we go. Now, as always, give that a good stir, get it well into solution. It's very important again, keep your eye on the temperature here, and this temperature when you add the microbes, which is the next step, should never be over 40 degrees, certainly not over 40, preferably around 36 degrees to 38 degrees in there. And that's what it is about now. It's about 37 in there. So into this we add the microbial solution, 1 litre of mother culture, and that goes in. And once again, give that a good stir. As you can see, the water is quite high, but it's not all the way up. So let's top it off with some more water. And the best thing to do is to leave about an inch, 2 inches just at the top to allow for the fermentation process to take place. Again, we know this is pure water going in here, and as you can see, it's all going around, it's stirring it all in, so that's pretty optimum right there. Now the thing about the fermentation process is, fermentation process must be conducted with no air getting in, but we have to allow the air, which is a byproduct of fermentation, the carbon dioxide, we have to allow it to come out, but no oxygen to go in, no air to go in. And so we put a top on there, and we have to make sure that the top is sealed, it's airtight. So on these particular tanks we have an O-ring. You have to ensure that this O-ring's in good condition and that it fits on the top to make an airtight seal. And then we wind the top on here. pulls that down. Now, as many of you know, that we use the beads to help structure the water that we have in there. These are ceramic beads that are infused with microbes that act as a great restructurer, antioxidant for the water. So we usually set that in there, and imagine that it's hanging about halfway down, and then we fit our bubbler. There's many different designs of bubbler, but this is the one we're using right now, and this one has a water trap at the top. So I'm going to add a little water to that. You add the water into the bubbler here, and this allows the air to come out against the pressure, and sits like that. See, now air can come out if it needs to, but no air can go in. So now this is completed, and it's ready to go into a fermentation process between 7 and 10 days. Now this product must be kept at a temperature of between 36 and 38 degrees. And how we do that is we have these heat pads. Now this heat pad is plugged in over there. You can see it's got an adjustable knob here. This adjusts the temperature up or down. You see the red light comes on to show you that it's heating, and then of course as you go down it's gone off. So we'll adjust it quite high, that's to start with, and then sit this down on a flat surface, because you don't want to have it arching over anything, bending over anything, because you don't want to break this element in here. And it has this aluminum plate on the top, which is to help the heating process, but this whole product is not hugely impact resistant, which means don't drop anything on it. When you put your tank on it, put it on there gently, treat it well. So now I'm going to lift this container on top of that. Make sure it's evenly sat on there. Now that heat pad will heat this whole container, and in order for that to maintain a good temperature, we use some insulation. You can use a blanket, anything you like. So there you go. This is now 30 litres of EMA that's going into the fermentation process. You know this is watertight because you can still see the lid popping up here. As it goes into fermentation, occasionally you'll see the lid pop up and down as the air escapes. Now this needs to be checked on a daily basis to make sure that the temperature stays between 36 and 38 degrees Celsius. Now after about 7 days and you're monitoring the activity, usually the bubbling slows down. That means the fermentation is coming to an end, and basically in the fermentation process the microbes will have eaten all the sugar, all the lactose and sugar in the molasses, and then they come to rest because they have no more food, and you land up with a good fermentation of EMB that you can then put to use. So typically, when your product's finished, is firstly it's stopped fermenting or it's slowed down, and then you take the pH. You'll be given a packet of pH papers. You take the pH paper and you dump it in there, and the pH paper should come out with a reading of approximately 3 to 3.2. Here is a packet of pH papers that we use for checking these There are a number of different varieties, and here's the paper here. As you dip it in, and you dip it into the top of the solution, keep it there for about 2 seconds, shake it off, and then afterwards you compare the colour on the paper to the colours on whatever strip you have. And depending on the colour that you have, it'll tell you the pH value of what you have in your tank. So here's 3.2, that would be a good colour. Here's less than 3, which is excellent. Here you have 3.6, which is marginal. So you want it, that's the perfect range, 3.2 in there. But you don't do that till day 7. Don't waste your paper strips on it. It's just monitoring it at 7 days. If it is still fermenting at that time, after 7 days, just leave the heat on, let it sit like that until that fermentation stopped. But after it has stopped and the pH is right and there's not a lot of activities, then turn the heat off. You can unplug the heat so you can let the brew cool down and maybe down to the ambient temperature of the room, which might be 30 degrees, and let it rest for a couple of days. So now your whole brewing process has taken about 10 days, and you should have a high quality fermentation, high quality brew, which then you can use, go to work with, use it however you want to use it. Then of course afterwards it's about really cleaning the whole apparatus, make sure that you clean everything the best as you can and get ready for your next brew. I hope that's been clear, and it's, we've stated a few things a couple of times, but it's important to follow this protocol. So these are the steps that you need to do. It's airtight, it's the right temperature, and the right mixture, clean water in clean vessels, and of course they respond very well to how you are, how your energy is with them, how your attitude is with them. So they're going to work for you, they're microbes, so love them the best you can. Thank you.